Today's discussion about some of the things that will be happening in the next 200 years, as well as transferring our consciousness into higher bodies, understanding how that is connected to our divine blueprint and our higher ascended selves that live on the blueprint who are influencing us and directing us. So we have a number of topics to cover today, and it'll be spread out among this video. So the first place I want to start is that many of you who are following me know there is a great migration that is beginning now, and it will be going on for the next 200 years, with it crescendoing and becoming a large migration in the future, because there are consciousnesses that are going to be incarnating in the future who will have immediately upon birth divine spiritual gifts and will be able to make this transition much easier than many of the people now. Because many of the people now are either, remember my 7 levels of consciousness, many of the people now are in tribal, mass, individual, and aspirant levels, and there are beginner disciples who are generally fascinated with the paranormal and extraterrestrials, and they're a little bit lost, and they're not working their spiritual gifts. So in order to make this migration into higher realms and into higher planetary worlds, you must start manifesting your spiritual gifts, because these divine beings that are attached to your blueprint, these higher, which you might call spirit guides or ascended beings, but they are a part of your divine blueprint. They are existing in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th density frequencies. They are guiding and directing our consciousness. They are interested only in us manifesting spiritual gifts, because by the time they are ready to help us transfer our consciousness, it is our spiritual gifts that will determine where we go, or if we remain trapped in the astral worlds attached to Earth. In the future, there's going to be a lot of changes on the planet. The Earth is going to reclaim some of the actual land mass, because basically this is a water planet. It hasn't been known to that to us because we live on the land, but this too is known to other beings as a water planet. And so the Earth is going to take back some of the land masses, and they're going to be terraformed or transformed a little bit different. There's going to be a change in the way the whole biosphere here works. So as I had mentioned in other videos, there's new life forms coming to this planet. They're going to be replacing this program and these humans with a new program and a new kind of being. Our animal program that's based on fear and competition and dog eat dog, all that is going to be coming to an end. And what's going to happen is the great migration. Those who are manifesting their spiritual gifts and are walking among the planet and among the people with their spiritual gifts and demonstrating higher consciousness bodies to them, higher consciousness awareness, they are the ones that are going to be moving into higher spheres and higher realities. So one of the things that will be taking place in the future is that there are going to be these cities that are going to, I call them cities, but they're like domed cities that are going to be rising up out of the ocean, and they're going to be dwelling on the surface of the water. So there will be these communities dwelling in cities that are sort of completely encapsulated in protection. You know, who has watched Stargate Atlantis? That's a program that was on Sci-Fi Channel. It's a little bit like that. So they're going to be living, there's going to be communities living in these biospheres on the water in the future. And there will be some biospheres hovering in the atmosphere. They're not going to be in our orbit. They're going to actually be hovering in the sky, in the atmosphere, and there will be communities dwelling in these areas. And the old program is going to have to be completely dismantled in the next 200 years. You're going to see a lot of these things that we've been doing are not going to survive. The governments, as we currently have them structured, are not going to survive. We're going to have a new kind of government that's going to be governed by a new consciousness and new types of entities. There will be life forms that actually dwell in the oceans, and those will be transformed as well. And there will be a lot of life in the water, more so than on the earth, on the ground, on land. Although there still will be land on earth, there's going to be a lot of water dwelling. And this great migration is starting now, and this is why I am calling out and reaching out to all of my spiritual friends. You must start developing your spiritual gifts, because your divine blueprint, and I have videos on the divine blueprint, was created by the Paradise Sons, and it started at the highest levels, above ninth density, and gave forth form and matter, so that consciousness, remember, consciousness is attached to your blueprint. And so soul is just a container. It has no purpose but to hold consciousness. It is the divine blueprints that were created in our universe and locally in our galaxy by great cosmic beings, Paradise Sons. They created blueprints because you cannot experience consciousness without a body. So even when you think you are without a human form, you have an astral body. And even beyond that, in order for your consciousness to survive and keep growing up your divine blueprint, you must have consciousness experiencing a body, a type of form in whatever density or frequency the divine blueprint is creating form for you. Many people call these dimensions. That's not the correct word. Science uses it a different way. I am calling different realities or different realms of conscious intelligence, frequency or density. So the migration is going to have what some people call them righteous souls. That's been sort of throughout history. But really what it is in order to be awakened spiritual beings, you can't be lost in the New Age. The New Age is going away, thank God. It served its purpose, but we have a lot of, lost disciple level people right now who are just fascinated with paranormal and extraterrestrials, and they jump from book to book, workshop to workshop. They surf YouTube constantly, fascinated with this, that, and the other. They're rather lost. What you have to do in order to advance and be able to leave the astral worlds when you die, because I've said before, about 99% of the people who are here, when they die, they are trapped in the astral worlds. They live in their same body with their same name and identity. They go live with their dead relatives in the astral worlds. So in order to free ourselves from the astral worlds, you must start manifesting your divine gifts. I have a group now that is focused on drawing together the spiritual people who are now serious, they're dedicated, they're spiritual warriors, they're ready to start developing and really manifesting their spiritual gifts. This is the only way higher consciousness is going to call you forth into higher planetary systems. Because in our divine blueprint, as I was saying earlier, the divine blueprint starts at the higher realms, and consciousness is activated in those higher densities through some type of form. And it may not look anything like this at all, but it is some type of form or structure that consciousness dwells in these 9th and 8th densities. And those are very advanced beings. And then it was stepped down. The original blueprint kept being stepped down into 7, 6, 5, 4, and 4 and 3, and here's where we are. We are in the densest, most contrast type of form you can have. We are addicted to our senses. We are seduced by our body. We are addicted to our body, and so this is one of the reasons it's been so hard to free all the avatars that are trapped here, because we become so addicted to the body form here. So these beings are a part of your divine blueprint, and as they were stepped down and you were created, you were given a piece of consciousness from the container called soul and attached to the divine blueprint, and that consciousness created this third density body, along with your genetic lineage, which I've done many videos on that, all created your patterns that you are now manifesting. But it is our purpose to grow back up the blueprint, because higher consciousness that dwells in our blueprint actually learns and grows and expands from our returning back up the blueprint, and we grow and expand going back up the blueprint, and our higher self or our higher guides who are helping us and who are very aware of our creation, because we are never alone. We weren't created by accident. We have higher beings in our divine blueprint that help to design and construct and figure out what kind of consciousness and body we would be manifesting down here when we were created. Because it is time now to take this program and grow as many of these avatars as possible back up the blueprint and start going back into higher frequencies of light, because this program is coming to an end. This earth is a continuous sort of experiment of time cells. These time cells run for a specific amount of time, whether it's 10,000 years or 6,000 or 10 or 20,000 years or more. It's a specific time cell. They do experiments, and then the idea is that consciousness, the avatars that have a consciousness, which we are responsible for our consciousness, we are held accountable for what we did with our consciousness. Consciousness is meant to grow back up and expand and leave the earth atmosphere and actually graduate into higher worlds. And it is our higher angelic selves and our angelic and higher guides that live in our blueprint that are watching our light and are monitoring our light and our gifts to determine and to help us to go to the next level. So in the Great Migration, there will be a large group of people who will be migrating to fourth density. I've had many videos on this. It's kind of the Star Trek worlds. There will be a smaller amount that will go to fifth density, and an even smaller amount that actually becomes sixth density star beings. Their bodies will be birthed from stars, and they will not be attached to a planet. Third, fourth, fifth densities are still terrestrial bound. They have a home world. And so this is the issue that is happening now. We need to move out of the New Age, and the New Age helped free us from those dogma religions, but now we have to sort of cycle into a new phase these next 200 years where we become the witnesses and the teachers and the prophets and the emissaries of higher worlds. And we walk among the planet with the other levels of consciousness. See my 7 levels. We walk among the planet demonstrating what it looks like to be an advanced human ready to transition into higher worlds of light. So in the future, there's going to be, I've mentioned in other videos, a lot of weather turbulence, and it's Mother Nature is going to cause a lot of changes on this planet, and so a lot of areas are going to have severe weather problems, and the governments and the systems that we work with right now will collapse because they are not sustainable. Our government structures aren't sustainable. Electrical grids, the kind of reality that we're doing here is coming to an end. It's not going to be sustainable. And that's quite all right, because there's going to be a group of us that are migrating to new planets. And then a brand new cycle begins within this 200-year period. This is where we're going to be seeing Mother Earth take back some of the land, a transformation of the water to become more of a water planet. Cities of light, I would call them, or you could just call them cities that float on the oceans. And as I said, there will be some that will be in the actual sky area. So the earth land itself is not going to be where we build and build and build these tall skyscrapers, you know, these towers of Babel all the way up to the sky like we've been doing. The land of the earth in the future is going to be completely cultivated for a different purpose, and the actual living, most of the living, will be either in the atmosphere or will be in the cities floating in the oceans. And so this is some of the things I was presenting for you today. I'm encouraging you to come join my group, because right now we are developing our spiritual gifts. We are working with the sacred fire. We're developing our spiritual gifts. I am focused on getting as many New Agers and everybody else out of the astral world and graduating yourself into your gifts, and start manifesting your gifts so you can be part of this migration that is now occurring, where you will be able to transfer your consciousness into higher bodies. And those people who are meditating and they think that they're tapping into higher consciousness and they're anchoring all these higher beings and higher consciousness, and they're talking about that, let me say this: you may occasionally tap into higher consciousness, but the only way you can actually be experiencing higher consciousness is that you are transferring your body routinely, transferring your consciousness routinely into higher bodies, into fourth density bodies and fifth density bodies. You do this with your astral travel. You leave the astral worlds and you are transferring your consciousness, or bilocating, into fourth density bodies, into fifth density bodies, and you are learning what it is to be a fourth or fifth density being. You can only do that by experiencing the body in that reality. Okay, so if you're interested in coming and joining my group, and also I have a huge library about your spiritual gifts. I go through many types of spiritual gifts, the sacred fire for cleansing out your old programming. There's just a lot of work here in the library for you to study free. And I also have my Patreon group. I'll leave a link below, and I will see you then, friends, in the next video.